the title of this webinar is Balancing the Booking Mix, Building a Stronger Future with Direct Bookings. And I'm thrilled to be joined by Brian and Morgan from Nofie. Brian, just want to briefly give us your background.
My background, I'm an engineer. I run a software company. This has been a project that we started a year and a half ago at the request of my wife, Kimberly. We're hosts like you guys. We're very interested in the direct booking movement. Nofie is really designed to help drive both connections between hosts and guests freely, as well as providing all the options, which we'll talk about. So it's kind of a quick background on us.
Sweet. And I'll hand it over to kind of the structure of this webinar will be is Brian will start off by presenting Nofie, what their capabilities are, why you might be interested in joining their platform, and then we'll switch over to me, and then I will give a more general presentation around how to get started and maximize direct bookings through different methodologies and how to kind of bring these things together to flesh out your direct booking strategy. So Brian, if you want to just kick it off, we'll go through this portion about Nofie.
And I also want to introduce Morgan. Morgan runs our marketing. So we'll talk a little bit about what she does. Fundamentally, we're building a completely free search engine that provides all the booking options with a focus on direct booking, of course. Morgan is in charge of driving search traffic so that we can drive more eyeballs to you guys, to your booking options. We don't charge for any of that. We generate revenue through relationships like with StayFi. Our hosts are always looking for ways to improve their business. So we introduce them to folks like StayFi that have tech or services or support that can help the hosts advance their vacation rental business. So we are relatively new. If you haven't gone out to nofie.com yet, if you go there, you'll see it's just a simple search engine, but I'll show you a little bit of differentiation of what we do that makes us kind of special. So on the host side, you guys can list your properties completely for free. It's very simple. I'll talk about that here in a couple slides. When you create the listing, you can add not only your direct booking, but also your all the other booking options where you are marketing. Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking.com, TripAdvisor, wherever you're marketing your stuff. We like our guests like to see all the options, because what we didn't anticipate getting into this project was that although we're all motivated to drive more direct bookings, there are a lot of folks out there that are still loyal to the OTAs, to those third parties. So we want to give them all the options, and they're going to go where they are most comfortable. On the guest side, that's really the trick. Is instead of a guest searching on different platforms, we're putting all of the data in one spot. So fundamentally, we want to ultimately be the household name for search, the one-stop place for searching for a vacation rental. Here's just a screenshot of a page of a booking, a detail. You can see this is actually Kimberly's, our property here in Colorado. She built her direct booking website a couple years ago. Like many folks, it's hard to drive direct booking traffic, and I think Arthur's going to talk more about marketing to drive that. So we highlight the direct booking. If you click on the orange button on the right there, all we're doing is sending them to your website. Whatever URL you plug into Nofie, we're just sending them there, and we're out of the relationship. We're just driving the traffic. And if they're more comfortable with Vrbo or Airbnb, they can see the prices, and if that's where they want to go, then they click on that. They go right to your Vrbo booking page. So you're in control of all of the URLs that you put on your listings in Nofie.
And I guess I would ask this, what's nice about here is, if you're looking at your own listing, you can check and make sure that your direct booking cost is actually lower than your OTA cost, right? Since you'll see that.
Yes, it is a little tricky. Airbnb and Vrbo are always changing their algorithm. We try to keep up with them. We haven't convinced them to give us a courtesy call when they do that. So we're constantly always in catch up with them. So I get calls all the time from hosts saying, hey, something doesn't look right. So we'll do a deep dive on the pricing model to make sure that we're accurate. So yeah, that's the real benefit for me is we want to promote the fact that direct booking is going to be more cost effective. That is not always the driver for the guest. They're going to go where they want to go. So just to wrap up on our side, and then I'll hand it back over to Arthur. It's real simple. You can go out to Nofie.com. You can create a host account. You can, if you are connected, if you're using a property management software, a PMS, we have a growing number of integrations with those. We're constantly building those out. You can just put in, if that integration is live, you can put in your ID. We just pull all your data in, super simple. If you're not using a PMS, or if that integration is not live yet, you can still get your stuff on. It's still relatively simple. And then step 3, adding those additional options does a couple things. The most important thing for you guys is our sort algorithm does take into account the listings that have multiple booking options, because we know our guests that's why they come to Nofie. They want to see everything in one spot. So you rank higher in sort if you add those other OTAs, even though if you're like us, we want to showcase the direct booking, but we'll take the business anyway they want to give it to us.
And I
That's
imagine
pretty
all
much
of
it.
these links to your own website all count towards your SEO as backlinks, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just a free, easy way to get high quality backlinks to your website that can also generate incremental bookings, which is awesome. Sweet. Do you guys want to add anything else before? I mean, obviously we'll have room for questions at the end. People have specific questions about Nofie. So we can save that till the end of the presentation. Do you have anything else you want to add before I kind of take it from here?
No, we just wanted to give a high level overview of what we're trying to do. If you guys have questions, we want you to ask the questions when we get to the Q&A part. We're happy to answer any questions that are on your mind.
Sweet. And for everybody who's here, if you have questions, you can use the Q&A part of Zoom. Better than the chat, just so that it will organize all the questions. So if you have questions, add them there, and at the end of the presentation, we will address them. Now I just want to talk a little bit about, many people are in many different stages of their book direct journey, whether they are building their first website or selecting a PMS, all the way to they have hundreds of listings and they are generating a significant part of their book direct business. So this presentation is really aimed at kind of helping you no matter where you are along that journey, but definitely more emphasis on where people are starting out, right? And so, why do you want to drive direct bookings to begin with? There's a lot of reasons why they are preferable to OTA bookings. Number one is they can be more profitable, depending on how you divide those additional OTA fees between you and the guests that you're no longer paying, which average around 15%. Most operators don't pass all the savings on to guests, so there is ways to capture additional revenue. Also, if you have a robust direct booking channel, that means just more demand overall. So obviously more demand means higher occupancy and the ability to fill in gap nights or availability in your calendar through other tactics, whether it's email marketing, text marketing, great search engine optimization, appearing in Google search. So there's lots of ways to leverage direct booking to increase overall occupancy and profitability. And then when you're on OTA platforms, obviously you lose some amount of control, whether it's power over cancellations, whether it's the algorithms of those OTAs changing, where maybe you were ranked high in search and for some arbitrary reason that we don't know why, you're now ranking lower, so you're driving less bookings. There could be more competition on those platforms. And then also they don't want to share guest data with you. So Airbnb doesn't just want to hand you all their emails of people that book through them, because they want people to keep booking through Airbnb and not know that direct booking is an option, right? So there's lots of reasons why building a direct booking strategy will make your business more sustainable and profitable in the long run, right? I just covered these. Also, one other thing I'll add here is I didn't talk about is owner retention, acquisition, and other upsells. So having a robust direct booking strategy obviously means you can perform better for owners that you property manage for. Obviously, if someone's choosing a company to manage their properties and you can deliver more bookings because you have a fantastic brand and a history of driving direct bookings, that differentiates you from someone new who's starting out in your area. If everyone's just listing on OTAs and doesn't do direct booking, then it's harder to differentiate between companies. But obviously, direct bookings is a way to differentiate yourself for owners and having a strong guest facing brand. And the last one is the ability to sell other things to guests in their direct booking journey that you can't sell via an OTA. So, for instance, there's different insurance companies out there, depending on your destination, where you can sell travel insurance to guests when they book you directly, which is additional revenue you can capture per booking. That, Airbnb or Vrbo is selling insurance, right, through their booking path. So, especially as people scale, they find there's more ways to do upsells that are highly profitable to guests when you own the entire booking journey. Today, I'll just introduce StayFi briefly. Then I'm going to talk about kind of like the core components of building out a robust direct booking strategy. Number one is a website. Number two is billboarding on OTAs, which is kind of a cheap and easy way to start driving some traffic to that website. So there can be some downsides, which I'll talk about. The third is data collection and guest retention, which is obviously something StayFi helps with, but there are other ways to do this as well. And this is really, every time you pay Airbnb or Vrbo or Booking.com for a guest, you only want to pay those platforms one time. And then once you acquire that guest, how can you make sure that every time they want to return to your destination, they're coming back to you directly? And I'll talk about how StayFi can help you accomplish that. And then finally, how do you measure these things? Because that's another thing that can be very challenging is you are spending money on maybe Facebook ads or email marketing or search marketing, and you don't have a clear understanding of what your ROI is. So I can talk a little bit at the end about how to do that. StayFi, very simply, is we help short-term rental operators collect data from guests, centralize that data from multiple sources, and help you remarket to those guests to drive more revenue. And so over time, we can help people shift from being very dependent on third-party channels to being less and less dependent as their database of guests grows. And then we also do some very cool Wi-Fi things like occupancy alerting, outage alerting. We can tell when there's too many people in a property, when the internet goes out. So there's other things we have in our product. We also have our own email and SMS marketing tools, as well as integrating with many third-party tools or agencies, whether you use Blue Tent, Switchback, or use MailChimp. We can also send data to other platforms if that's what you're comfortable using. So collect centralized data. We have all the tools, but we connect with external ones. And then we also make sure the Wi-Fi is fast and reliable in all your homes, so guests can't arrive and find that the internet's not working. And then over time, we're going to help build your brand reputation up and help you become less dependent on those third-party channels. And then when it comes to like unit size, like who can have success with StayFi, we really span all size of operators from someone with one short-term rental to people that manage hundreds or even thousands. And we also work in any country. And it's all essentially self-service. So while we are available to help you, anyone can sign up for StayFi, create an account, and get started right away. So you can go to our website, sign up. So there's no need to do a sales call or sign an annual contract. It's all very easy and straightforward for anyone to get started. Kind of like what are reasonable results? I get this question a lot, and it really depends on who you are and where you operate and what your experience with direct bookings is, right? We have folks that started at no direct bookings like Cozy, and now they're 30% booked direct, most of which comes from repeat guests. They're a drive-to destination. It's very natural that people travel there multiple times. It can be different if you're like Hawaii and people travel once per year, as opposed to a ski destination where people may go multiple times a year driving there. So, it's never so easy to predict how many guests will repeat. But if you have a kind of a gut feeling about who your guests are, how often you see them return via an OTA, those are the guests that are going to be the easiest to convert to direct booking. Now, when it comes to building a website, there's a typical flow people go through. And Nofie can definitely be part of this journey, right? Because you could start with Nofie even if you're only list on OTAs, right? And then add a direct booking site later. And what we see for most operators, whether they own or manage, is they start by listing directly on Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking.com. And then at a certain point, they decide to invest in property management software, which is kind of the first piece of technology people will use. For smaller operators, we see them gravitate towards tools like Hospitable, OwnerRes, Uplisting, Guesty for hosts. There's a whole plethora of hostfully kind of property management software oriented towards smaller operators. And then as they get larger, sometimes these people switch to other tools like Streamline, Track, Hostaway. So it's kind of a natural evolution for PMS usage. But the great thing about all of these products is they all include some form of a white labeled website. And so that's the type of website most people start with. Some are better than others. So it's definitely something to consider when you're selecting a property management software or switching, is how strong are their direct booking websites that are kind of built in the product, and then also who do they partner with to build even better websites. So that's kind of where people usually end up, is they partner with a company like Boostly, IC&D, Realtech, Hudson, who connect to a bunch of PMS to build custom, more high performance websites that also rank a lot better on OTAs. So that's the typical journey where people start with something very basic, and then they get more sophisticated as they go on. I'd say if you want to drive organic traffic from Google, you're really going to need one of these more custom websites built by a third party. These PMS websites are great for sending people who come from StayFi, who already stayed with you and trust you, or people who are clicking from Nofie and they see that it's cheaper to book here. The websites are less robust in that someone coming in from Google who doesn't know who you are, they're not going to sell that guest as well, a potential guest, as one of these more sophisticated websites. I think something to do when you are looking to build a website or pick one of these vendors is to go find a vacation rental website you love using. So these are interesting because these are actually two websites that use OwnerRes, but you can see they look very different because they're built using different like third-party agencies, right? And these are two great examples of also how their website really communicates their brand very strongly. So typically when it comes to smaller operators, like on the right, grants and family retreats, I advise people to lean into their personal story, especially if it's a family run and owned business like this one is, with this lovely couple, Tyann and her husband. And you can see here, when I go to their website, I totally know who their guest is. Make family memories here, because they manage these large 10 plus bedroom, 6-bedroom homes in Missouri. And so they really understand who their customer is. Their website's built to talk to them, and they make their story very personal so that when someone's coming here, they understand who they are, what they do, why they're not Airbnb, right? On the left, I see a very different brand promise. I see someone who's promising home comfort, hotel quality. This is a more sophisticated, and when I say sophisticated, just a much larger property manager, who's clearly trying to advertise to folks who may typically book a hotel. And these are going to be often, many of them are even smaller units, like 1-bedroom condos. So you can see here, two very different websites talking to two very different types of guests. But what I like about these is right when I look at them, I know who their audience is and what experience they're trying to communicate to me. So definitely when it comes to building a website for your own company, I would go and find some vacation rental websites you love, see who built them. So often at the bottom of the website, it will say Boostly or IC&D. And then if you think you like some of the messaging, you can use that to inspire your own messaging when it comes to your own website. So don't have to reinvent the wheel. Copying is totally fine. It's sincerest form of flattery when it comes to, these websites, right? Billboarding on websites is a bit of a controversial topic. I'd say there is one downside to this that I should mention, is that when it comes to OTA listings, they do care about conversion. And so if you have a lot of people come to your listing on Vrbo or Airbnb and they don't convert to a booking, that could harm you slightly in their algorithm. So it's kind of like a positive negative that you have to weigh about, what's appropriate for your business. If you have very strong reviews, obviously this conversion rate is one of many, many factors in their algorithm, right? But these are some things that we recommend people do on their listings on OTAs. And this is basically a way for somebody who's maybe a little more savvy, see your brand name and listing name on a third-party website, and then use that to help find your direct booking site to find your actual listing to book directly, hopefully helping them save a little money. Obviously, number one is same property name, including your property management company or actual host name on the like in the bottom of the listing. I see a lot of Verbo listings, for instance, where it's a property management company, but they have a person and not their logo, right? So if you make it their company and your logo, that helps people find who you are. A cool example I've seen is people watermarking their logo onto TVs, like photoshopping that into images. Having the same images also between these platforms in the same order is great. Um, and then Google reviews is key, and StayFi has a really awesome way to get Google reviews for your website. And so this is just a way for more savvy folks who realize that direct booking is often better if they want to save money, right? And they care less about maybe Airbnb and Verbo protections or whatever brand kind of promise they offer. This will help you get guests to find your website, especially if you kind of don't have a website that performs well yet in search marketing. Last piece here, you know, if you have people stay with you or visit your website, we want to help you book them to come back again and again, right? So once you pay to acquire a guest, you want to make sure that they're coming back to you directly. StayFi does that in a pretty unique way, in that when someone logs into the Wi-Fi at a property with StayFi, they're presented with this splash page or captive portal you see here on the left. And this way we can collect name, email, phone number, not just from the booker, but everybody in the property. So if you manage larger homes that have 8, 10, 12, 15 guests, StayFi is a great way to capture data from all of those people. It's typically around 80 to 90%. So if you have 10 guests, we'll get 8 to 9 visitors. Second thing is if you have a website, you want to collect emails on that website. And this is actually an example from Branson Family Retreats, which I showed earlier, as they have this pop-up where if you enter your email, you'll get $100 off. So you can imagine if you're paying to have traffic to your website through search or social media, or your marketing, let's say your website on Nofie, right? You get someone to come to your website, you want to make the most of that visit. And if they don't transact then, we want to at least make sure we capture their email. And this has a really nice give get where they'll submit their email and then they get a guidebook and a $100 off coupon right to their inbox. In StayFi's internal email marketing tool, we have the ability to create these types of pop-ups, also forms on your website, as well as set up that automation. So if you don't know how to do that, we guide you through the process and you can add it to just about any website. And then finally, StayFi within our own email marketing tool, we also import any real emails from your property management software. And here's not a complete list, but a list of most of our current integrations. So if you use any of these tools and sign up for StayFi, we can take any real email you've collected there and add them to a list for email marketing. And of course, we update that continuously. So we're kind of combining all the data that you've ever collected in your PMS, as well as any data from your Wi-Fi if you want to collect data there too. Now I'm just going to talk about a real life example of like let's say you want to do email marketing and you've never done it before. Like, how do you go about getting started? Because it can be a little intimidating. I totally understand that, especially if you have never done it before. So I'm going to talk about a real company called Juniper, and I'm actually going to show you the types of emails that they created, and they created all of these within StayFi's email marketing tool using one of our templates, right? So we have all the templates you need to get started, and I'll show you some examples of what they're sending and talk about some other types of content that you can include in email marketing. So this is a very ugly diagram of like how their email system works. Like, what are they doing? So they collect emails three ways. One is through their website on a web form. The second is from their PMS, which happens to be Track. And the third is through StayFi. And so what happens is, depending on where they're getting this email, they are triggering a different automation. So all an automation is a set of messages that gets automatically sent by either StayFi and other software to that email address over some schedule of time. So it could be one email, it could be 10 emails over the course of a year. It's, up to you. And then all of those email addresses, no matter how they were collected, also receive their monthly newsletter. And we typically recommend starting a monthly newsletter around 500 email contacts. So that's kind of the inflection point where it becomes worthwhile to start investing in doing this content. Obviously, if you have less than that, I would typically recommend setting up an automation. So basically, you're collecting emails, you're sending them, kind of a pre-built series of 2 or 3 emails, and then once your list grows large enough, then you kind of think about, how do I want to send one-off emails to this list? This is what the email looks like when you submit an email on Juniper's website. And they have a few places on the website to do this. What you can see here, if you look at the content, so we have like this drag and drop builder where you just drag in images and text sections and these little sections below with like buttons and images on the side, is they're talking to a wider audience. Because Juniper does property management and obviously hosting guests, when they collect a contact on their website, they actually don't know if this person is a prospective homeowner or if this person's a prospective guest. So you can see here on the right, the messaging that they're sending is twofold. One is about booking, obviously, as to stay there as a guest, but at the bottom, there's a very large section on property management. And I know they also use Vintory, so that particular link goes to their like Vintory landing page, and the other ones go to their like website for booking, right? So they're telling their story about who they are, but they also have two call to actions for two different audiences, one to book and the other to have their property managed by them. The second automation is for folks that are logging in on the Wi-Fi. And you can imagine here, typically guests log in on the Wi-Fi on the first day. So they're sending messaging that's very specific to somebody being in the property. And they actually set it up so that depending on the property, they're getting a different email. And in our tool, it's very easy to do that. We have these things called merge fields. So you can write an email that says, welcome to property name, and then we'll insert the property name depending on where they are. So it looks very custom, even though you only made one email, and that email works for every home. It can even be down to like a guidebook URL. So if you assign a guidebook URL to each property in StayFi, then that email will include that link for the specific home when they log into the Wi-Fi. And here you can see they first, again, introduce themselves. You have to imagine if you're receiving this email, you either are the booker, which is a smaller part of the audience, and if you booked on a third-party website like Airbnb or Vrbo, you may not really know what Juniper is versus Airbnb, right? How often do we hear, I booked an Airbnb and not I booked a Juniper holiday and home? And the other main people who are getting this email are the non-bookers who have no clue who you are, right? So if there were 8 other people in this home, we want to make sure that you're introducing yourself to them as well. And they lead here with value add during the stay. So the first thing is concierge services, right? So they offer all these upsells during the stay, and they have a portal on their website where you can view all these services. And so that's what they lead with here, because they know that these are their most profitable items after someone books a rental that they want to push. And someone's typically getting this on the first day. As that's the other thing that's important, is they're offering value to everybody there, because the non-booking guests especially may not know these exist. And that way they're not going to unsubscribe because they see you're providing valuable content to them. And then finally, are you dreaming about your next vacation? Introducing the concept of booking there again directly, right? So we always want to make sure that the emails are value add, providing information. And then on the right here, you can see the actual visual builder. So someone logs into the Wi-Fi, they're getting this email. Then in 5 days, they're actually getting another email. And that email is more oriented towards, how was your stay? And here are the advantages to booking again directly, right? Because obviously on day one, they're probably not thinking about their next trip to Michigan on the lake, but maybe in 5, 7, 10 days, that's when you want to encourage them to potentially look, if they're coming again, let's say in the summer, explain like why booking direct is beneficial, and then obviously provide links and a variety of the homes they can pick from. Maybe they love this home, but maybe they want to try a different one, right? And then finally, here's an example of a monthly newsletter. So here is definitely a pretty chunky email, which has a lot of different items in it. One, they do write a monthly blog post, so they're kind of going above and beyond the norm. And so they do offer obviously a link to that, and they call it, the Juniper Journal. And then in here, again, because we've combined all the audiences, they're talking about both property management and booking again. So property management leads off, then they list 4 properties, and then they talk about luxury concierge exploring all the homes, right? So they're hitting up both audiences, whether they are prospective homeowners or guests, and sometimes those audiences overlap, right? Because people who travel frequently to a location may eventually purchase a property there and need it managed as a vacation rental, right? So there is overlap between those two groups. Other things that Juniper Holiday and Home emails to folks in the monthly newsletter would be new properties. That's very popular. People love looking at beautiful architecture or new homes, so they're featuring like new properties that they manage. Definitely anything to do with seasonal events in this area, right? Like we have this event or this event. This area is also very seasonal in booking, right? Like Michigan Lake is very summer focused. And then there's a pretty slow winter and like, somewhat decent shoulder season. So they're really pushing, events at those times of year. Another successful strategy we've seen here is last minute availability. So maybe someone made a cancellation and it's a prime weekend. You can feature like, hey, these are all the homes we have available for July 4th. And that way the email becomes very specific towards actual windows of time that you want to book for these properties, right? And homeowners love seeing their properties featured to, really emphasize to them you're going above and beyond to market their homes outside of the basics that everyone does, which is listing on OTAs. The last piece here is how to measure all of this. So like I said before, most people start with their PMS website and then they get a custom website from one of those agencies. One problem with many PMS websites is they may support Google Analytics. They don't support e-commerce for Google Analytics. So you can see here, not only do I know the traffic to my website, direct none, that means I just put in my URL, Google Organic, Google CPC, which is pay per click, so Google Ads, and then email is the fourth one here, and there's many more, but I just took the top four. If you use regular Google Analytics, you get everything, all the acquisition, behavior, bounce rate, all that stuff. But what's missing is this thing on the right, which says e-commerce. So when you enable e-commerce or Google Analytics on your website, not only do I get the traffic, but I actually get the revenue and bookings associated with that traffic, which you can imagine actually gives you a lot more information. Many property management software don't have this built in, so it's definitely something to ask. But all of those kind of more robust website agencies all include this. So what's nice here is you can see by channel. Someone clicked on a Google ad or email, and then they came to the website, and I see I have 12 transactions from Google Ads, 7 from email, 47 from organic, 29 from direct, and also the revenue from those. So you actually can see the revenue numbers that you generated. And you may think CPC and email are relatively smaller than the first two, which of course they are here. One thing to note is this is reporting last click attribution. And you can imagine when you are making a booking, right? You're not always just clicking on the email and buying something, right? You may click on the email, then you might go to Kayak and look at hotels, and then you might go back to the website directly and book, right? And that's where this channel grouping path on the bottom left illustrates that email is not just about last click behavior, it's also about continuous brand awareness, right? So if you're sending an email every month, that guest is seeing your brand every month, and then it increases the likelihood that they will come to your website directly or search your name. So you can see here the first one here is just they went directly to the website 5 times, then they clicked on an email, and then they went direct to the website 5 times and then made a booking for $16,000, which is quite considerable. So you can see here email plays a role very often in the booking, even if the last click was direct or organic, right? So if you only consider last click, email will look smaller, but if you weren't emailing at all, a lot of the bookings in the other non-organic would actually go away, right? So consistent email is a way to get your brand in front of guests, and then you'll see that benefit come through all these other channels when it comes to booking. And then the bottom right here, Google Analytics can just do more breakdowns of email marketing specifically, where you can see for the last click, folks, which campaigns they clicked on, which were successful, which homes they booked, right? So it has all that extra data at the bottom here. Sweet. That wraps up the presentation for today. So we have plenty of time for questions and answers. And then we also have a promo code here for StayFi, which is if you use Nofie at sign up, you'll get 50% off your first 3 months of StayFi service. And that's for both email marketing and the Wi-Fi marketing. So if you just want to use StayFi to market to data you have in your PMS and aren't sure about Wi-Fi yet, you can still sign up and set that up. And it's actually free to the first 200 contacts. So if you, let's say, have 100 contacts in your PMS, you can connect it and you'll have free email marketing until you get above 200 contacts. I see I have one question from Kent, so I'll ask it to you, Brian. But you answered a little bit, but maybe you can clarify of how Nofie makes money, and then how you like show results if people are clicking on your direct booking link or Airbnb link, etc.
Yeah, so two questions. Like you see right here, that promo code we build. Once you create a host account, you have access to what we call the Nofie Host Academy. The Host Academy is broken down into three main categories: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So there are topics and vendors at each of those levels that can help you advance your business depending on where you are. Even the most sophisticated property managers are always looking for ways to do things better. So we build relationships with those vendors like StayFi to help you guys on the host side have a resource of tools that are available to you. And if we drive traffic, our host traffic to say StayFi, there's an affiliate relationship. So that's fundamentally how the search is going to stay free, because we are not only driving search from guest to host, but we're also driving search from host to our vendor affiliates like StayFi. So that's the first one. The second one, question.
Oh no, go
Sorry.
ahead.
The second question is about reporting. We are. I was really trying to get the long-term plan was to be able to provide reporting inside Nofie, so we can show you, one, how you're ranking, two, how much traffic we've driven to you. Obviously, we don't know if you've booked, but depending on your PMS, you can see the traffic that's coming to you or coming out to Nofie. You can see how much traffic we've driven to you. But the bigger thing about reporting is how much traffic we didn't drive to you. And that's ultimately going to be, how you're ranking and what can we do to help you guys rank better. Arthur talked about the OTAs. You have no control on how you rank on Airbnb. That's all up to them. What we want to do is give you the tools, if you're interested and want to put the effort in, ways to rank higher. So think about even on Airbnb, when you search and you have a map and you can zoom in and you can move around. Every time you move or zoom, the dimensions of that map, called the bounding box, we identify, and our server sends back all of the listings inside that bounding box, but they have to be sorted in a way that is logical. So we're working on the algorithm all the time to help the hosts that want to rank higher and sort, give you tools to have control on how that works. The reporting, I said back in July we would have this reporting live by the end of the year. We're not quite going to make it. We're very close, but we're heading into the holidays, so we're not quite there. But I look forward, as an engineer, I'm a data guy, so I like to be able to show you guys that we're actually driving search traffic for you. So reporting's coming. And a big part of that is Morgan, right? Not only how are you ranking, but how much traffic are we driving? So right now we have a campaign, a marketing campaign, specifically in Breckenridge, which is an hour and a half from us, that we spend money on search traffic and social and webinars and Instagram, all that stuff. So we want to drive more and more search traffic. We're doing it one market at a time based on how much inventory we have in that market, because we want to make sure that there's value there for the guests. So you'll see reporting coming probably in Q1. And I look forward to be able to prove that we're adding value, adding eyeballs to the sites that you're hosting on. And I think part of the question was, if I saw something about just the direct booking. No, we can obviously send the traffic to Airbnb and Vrbo if you put those URLs on, but obviously they're controlling all of that. We don't have that. So we do know from our analytics, we have our own background analytics. Arthur was talking about Google Analytics, which is the front end, but from the back end, we know what booking options they're clicking. If they come to your page in Nofie and you have 3 options, we know which buttons they're clicking and where we're sending them. We just don't know once we send them there how they're converting, right? That's on you and the OTAs. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, and this is my own question. I'm kind of curious, how has your like kind of like number of listings grown, and how's like general traffic grown? Kind of how's that journey been so far?
Yes, I think we're hovering around 60,000 properties nationally. We've targeted markets, bigger markets like we did a big campaign in Orlando, the Kissimmee market in the fall. We love the ski resorts. Obviously, we're a ski family, so we're big in the ski resorts, not only here in Colorado, but pretty much all the ski resorts in Utah, and I think decent inventory in every large ski resort across the country. So that was a real driver up front for us. We're looking to add a campaign. I think Morgan's looking at either the 30A Destin market or Myrtle Beach. I can't remember, something as we get into January, as we see folks looking to book their spring break or their summer vacations, what can we do to drive more traffic that way?
Awesome. So it sounds like you're taking some portion of all this affiliate revenue getting and then plowing it back into guest acquisition for the Nofie platform.
That's exactly right.
Which is awesome. There was one question for me, which was, how does the Wi-Fi setup for StayFi work, and like what equipment do you need? I'll answer this briefly in that to use StayFi, we sell you a device called an access point, which is from a company called Ubiquiti Unify, and that plugs into your router to create a new network for guests. And you can actually keep your existing or homeowner network running in the background, and that new guest network is what supplies the splash page. We also do work with existing Ubiquiti Unify equipment, which is very common when you have professionally installed internet or have internet installed in like a small hotel motel conversion. So we do come across it quite often, but you do need this specific brand of equipment. And then once you have it in there, you'll not only have the guest portal, you'll also have occupancy alerting. So we measure how many guests are in the property and alert you when there's too many, as well as Wi-Fi outage alerts and the ability to monitor all your Wi-Fi from one screen. So there are some really nice cloud management aspects to having control over all your Wi-Fi networks and not depend on a bunch of ISP or internet service provider installed devices that you don't have a lot of visibility into. Sweet. Do you want to give again, Brian, kind of if someone wants to get started with Nofie, what they should go about doing?
Sure. Nofie.com is our homepage. And obviously the main focus there is search, but up at the top, there's a button that says become a host, a pop-up form. You put in your contact info, hit submit, and you now have an account. You land on what's called your My Listings page. And we have 3 ways to get your properties onto Nofie. One is the PMS integration. If you're using a PMS that we have an integration with, we're adding, I think we have 6 more in the works. So we continue to add more PMS integrations. We build that out at our cost. So working with the PMSs, they have a little more control of what they give us, but we build all that out. So if you're working with a PMS and you see the list of the PMSs that are active, if one of those is yours, you plug in, you grab an ID from your PMS portal that they give you, you plug it into Nofie, and we just pull all of your data in. That's the easiest way. You can also add properties manually. So if you only have one property, and I think Arthur brought this up, so I appreciate that. I should have said it earlier. We do promote and support the direct booking movement, but if you're just getting started, which a lot of our hosts are, and you're only on Airbnb or Vrbo or both, and you don't have a website yet, and you're still just exploring direct booking, you can still put your properties on. That's very simple. You create a property name and then you add your Airbnb booking URL where you want people to go to in Airbnb. You just add that URL and you save it. You add your verbal one. Now you have 2 options and you're in Nofie search. The third option is if you have a lot of properties and you don't want to add them manually and we don't have that PMS integration built yet, we have a bulk upload option where you download a spreadsheet, you give us all those URLs and we suck them into Nofie for you so you don't have to key it all in.
Awesome.
That's it. Pretty simple.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah. So again, I'll thank everybody for attending. I hope people found this valuable. And like I mentioned before, everyone will get an email if you missed part of this that will link to our recording. So you'll get to, watch any part of this again. And again, thanks so much for coming. And I'm super excited that Nofie was able to join, just because I think it's an awesome product that over time is just going to keep delivering more and more value as you grow, which is amazing.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for having us, Arthur.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank
You
you.
too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.